It's been proven many times that the more experience you've had with drawing, the more mileage, and the more you do it, the bigger the improvement is. And of course, this comes with experimentation and coming out of your comfort zone and all that jazz. But what if you're just burned out, you have art block, and you just don't feel the love for drawing anymore? There is a way that you can still draw every day, and if not, almost every day. This is why this tool exists. Hey guys, it's Toniko and Pantoja, and for a long time I had my biggest, longest, and most dreadful burnout. I didn't really want to create anything, I didn't have the motivation to do so, and I just felt tired all the time. And there's a lot of many reasons. Maybe a part of it was a fallout from finishing a really long-term project that didn't really go anywhere, doing the same thing over and over again with repeated, none-desired results, and constantly comparing myself to my fellow peers who I went to school with. With some of them, I underwent the same training as they did. Their careers elevated where I sort of plateaued, so I saw myself comparing myself to a lot of people. And another part is trying to figure out what I want to do next and what's best for me. Should I do comics? Should I do short films? Should I work on a really ambitious project next? I think the paradox of choice is what also burned me out or overwhelmed me. For a while, I took a huge break from drawing, animating, and just making stuff. Even making YouTube videos, I'm sort of reevaluating what I want to do with YouTube. And there was a point where every time I uploaded something to YouTube, I just felt less inspired or less motivated to make more. So yeah, maybe I was just too tired mentally and physically, had a very different relationship with my work. And every time I felt like I needed to get back into it, I just didn't feel like doing it. Now, outside of my career, I am a huge overthinker to the point it causes me insane anxiety, which eventually petrified my ability to be productive or to move on. Even after I took a long time taking a break and not really animating or making things. Now it boils down to the next question and the main topic that I want to talk about today. How did I still manage to draw every day while sort of figuring out my burnout? It's now time to go back to the roots of being an awe-inspired student. So when I was a student, I was constantly looking for ways to learn, to get better, to keep making stuff, to be in a place where I'm taking in whatever interested me and to be inspired, rather than worrying about doing the right thing for my growth. So for me, a symbol that resonated with that is the sketchbook. Now, I haven't really been serious about a sketchbook during my early career days. I think as soon as I got a job, I didn't really feel the hunger or the desperation to keep filling out sketchbooks. Now, I started going back to the sketchbook for several different reasons. I think the first main reason was because I was going onto Invincible, so I needed to be better at drawing figures right on the get-go and have that muscle memory down, since that show dealt with a lot of dynamic shots along with figures and action. But another reason why I started going back to the sketchbook one day because I was just so tired and bored looking at a computer screen. As much as I could use my iPad as a normal sketchbook, as much as I go to Starbucks and animate on the spot or sketch people using a digital iPad, there are so many amazing tools in the apps such as coloring. You can animate, you could have layers, you could even undo, to the point where it would make me feel more overwhelmed because I'll have too many choices, too many options. Like I would worry about what brush I should be using when I go out and draw. But again, I think my eyes were starting to hurt from a digital screen. Now, I got myself a sketchbook with paper that is easy to carry and bring around, something that fits easily in my bag, something that I can carry with one hand. Wanting to simplify my approach to drawing, I would only bring a pencil, whether it's a 2B or an HP, and an eraser and a sharpener. That's it. Now, I tried bringing coloring mediums such as markers and colored pencils, but I felt like I had to start thinking about how to use colors, which added more factors for me to worry about. I could see myself being overwhelmed easily. Therefore, dialed it back, no talk of color. Whenever I go out for lunch, wait for an appointment, chilling at a cafe, or waiting for a trip or a plane to board, I'll whip out my sketchbook and draw people and things around me. I'll mix it up between fast, loose drawings to sketches that took more than 2 minutes per subject or per thing. I'll draw people's bodies, faces, busts, mostly their backs because I don't want people to notice me when I'm drawing them. I mean, I could wear sunglasses and look like a douchebag when I draw people, but sometimes I just forget to bring sunglasses. When it comes to drawing subjects that are further from me, I tend to draw them small and quickly. Once I have an overall silhouette and gesture down, then I'll start adding details. What I usually do is draw a rough, loose form of my subject, a rough gesture, so when I start adding details, I already have the pose that I want. At that point, I'm just looking at the person as my reference for adding details. I'll look at their accessories, what shoes they're wearing, or any other detail that makes them uniquely them. If you see the examples I'm sharing, I start with broad shapes and then make my way to the details. And of course, I spend more time the more intricate the drawings get. Like if I really wanted to flesh out some of the details or some of the texture in that subject. Now here's an important thing. I only do a page or two per day and I leave it at that. Once I have that down, I leave it alone. I try not to go beyond because I'll see myself comparing how many pages I got done the last time I drew for my next session. Like let's say if I decided to draw 10 pages in my sketchbook, which is a lot, I would compare my quota to my previous session where could feel overwhelmed, and when I get overwhelmed, I get anxiety and that leads me to giving up. So even if I feel that temptation to do more pages and to go beyond, I tell myself to slow down or to leave it alone until whatever I have going on right now becomes normal. I'm talking about consistency here. And being consistent for, let's say, drawing 30 minutes a day is way better than, drawing 6 hours a day and then giving up for several weeks and then coming back to it, repeating the whole thing again. Last but not least, most of the sketchbooks that I'm filling out are me drawing stuff that's not coming from my imagination or original stuff, just observational and cafe sketches, just things around me. And the beautiful thing about that is I don't really have to think. I don't really have to be creative because, again, that's a whole other muscle. But, in my sketchbook, aside from just drawing random things and people, like I started seeing more nuances. So when it came to people, I started unintentionally studying about cloth folds. I unintentionally started drawing scenarios where people are at a cafe talking to each other. This also forced me to practice using perspective and the horizon line. So I find myself unintentionally studying things. So here's some things that I noticed about this practice and some things that I did overall learn. I've been trying this out for a while now. Sometimes I drew consecutively per day. Sometimes I only drew in my sketchbook twice or thrice per week. I find myself drawing the most when I'm waiting for something or when I don't really have a big project to work on. I usually do it again when I'm waiting for appointments, when I'm waiting for a flight to board, or just chilling at a cafe, drinking coffee, eating a pastry, and just drawing. Sometimes it's usually a break from writing or producing stuff. It's one of those things where I can turn it into a chill activity rather than worrying about being productive just for the sake of looking productive. It's really just a sketchbook for myself. I don't plan on showing it off. Although I'm pretty sure I'll have something to show off or to show people what a finished sketchbook looks like. But yeah, when I'm using a sketchbook, time flies by faster. And I feel great because my drawing mileage increased. I realized there's a difference between just drawing and being creative. Creativity requires a lot of problem solving and coming up with the idea, whereas drawing can be anything. At this point, I'm not trying to come up with an engaging story or something straight out of imagination with no reference. I'm just trying to capture what I see around me. And I think that helped with my anxiety of thinking about the past and the future. It locked me to the present. And of course, I'm drawing things around me, things that are present. So for someone that overthinks about their past and what their future might look like, this is a good way to calm yourself down and just be in the moment. I think what also helped me was that my medium was limited. Again, I was just using a pencil, paper, an eraser, and a sketchbook. No coloring material, no other stuff. I think when I don't have a lot of options or a lot of tools, layers, animation timeline, anything that provides limitless tools and choices, I felt way less overwhelmed and had to work with whatever I was given. Again, every time I drew on Photoshop or Clip Studio, I would start worrying about what kind of brush should I use, a hard round or some fancy customized pencil looking one. Also, based on my observations, so many people were on their phones. Now, I have social media addiction, so I felt good drawing on a good old-fashioned paper, whereas everyone was locked onto a tiny brick screen. Now, because of all these observational drawings, I would add in a lot of subtle things or nuances to my drawings that a lot of people won't really see or notice. But it helped me improve on my observational skills outside of drawing. But for me, I'm kind of oblivious when it comes to social cues or anything in gatherings, so this helps me a lot. I can easily draw stuff that's coming from my head based from my observational studies. I can draw things without reference based on how much I drew in cafe sketches. But again, that consists of a lot of people sitting around in cafes, so I'm pretty sure when I have to draw more complex stuff like people sparring or people wrestling, that's a whole other world. How did this affect my work beyond the sketchbook? Now, after a sketch session, I felt warmed up and a bit more motivated and eager to draw and be creative. I'm all loosened up to actually make drawings that come from imagination, and even if it's not drawing, I feel pretty warmed up to start writing and to come up with ideas. My drawing sensibilities got faster and clearer. I could quickly rough out an idea without thinking too hard about it. Natural poses come out to me more naturally, which helps me in my storyboarding work on shows like Invincible. When I do first passes of my drawing, so this is the first thing that I start with, it's pretty clear enough where I can jump straight from that to the cleanup. Whereas in previous iterations, I would come up with the very rough pass and I would do another pass where I flesh out some details and then maybe do another pass of that and then clean up. So here are some of my last wrap-up words for this video. If you feel like you don't have the motivation to create stuff, or to draw, or to make original pieces, maybe you're feeling burned out creatively, I urge and recommend bringing a sketchbook whenever and wherever you go outdoors. Keep it simple, just have something to draw with. Maybe just start with a pencil and eraser, or maybe a ballpoint pen, and nothing else, nothing too complex like colors and paint. I wouldn't do that. Try drawing people and things around you as you take a break at cafe. Experiment with some of the figure drawing techniques that you've learned over time through online videos or through classes. Use it in places where you're waiting for an appointment or a travel trip or just chilling around and you're just filling out something that could be worth something in the future. Something that's not an NFT. Last but not least, try not to overthink it. Try not to compare it with how much drawing you did in the day before. Start with filling out one page in a session, and once you reach that, wrap it up. Then the next day, try hitting that target again. And I would recommend you to stay there or just to keep doing that until you say, hey, maybe I can do 2 pages a day. Let's see. It's all up to you, really. Anyways, that's all. Bye. Interested in learning hand-drawn animation or learning how to finish an animated shot from beginning to end? Have a look at the store where you'll find the complete Introduction to 2D Animation video course, tutorials, and other resources. Learn classical animation approaches, drawing, lectures, techniques, and other process videos. Visit the store through the link in the description below.